Hey folks, this is Tron Games and welcome to Total War Warhammer 3. Today we're going to do a getting started guide for Kholek Suneater, one of the Warriors of Chaos faction. And so, Kholek, right at the beginning of the campaign, you don't have any settlements at all. You start with kind of just your little army here. And in terms of faction effects for Kholek, you have the Souls. All the Warriors of Chaos factions have the Souls mechanic and the Eye of the Gods. So you see we can't actually access the Gifts of Chaos here because we don't own a settlement, so we'll look at that in a moment. But in terms of the faction itself, you get additional Gifts of Chaos Undivided. When you go to build settlements, your Dark Fortress buildings will allow you to recruit additional Dragon Ogres. And as you kind of conquer different factions, you'll have the option to vassalize them, and the more factions that you vassalize, basically, the stronger Kholek gets as a lord. So fighting manually with him can be really quite good. So we'll take these guys on to start with, and again, you can take souls and favor. You can get some replenishment. In this case here, I'm going to take the replenishment just to make sure I can auto-resolve this, and we want to take the challenge stone. So we'll take the challenge stone here, and you want to set up a settlement in this place. So occupy and vassalize, and now we've actually created or gained a settlement here. Now, this settlement has a dark fortress on it, so just make sure when you're looking at different settlements, you keep an eye out for this. You can see some of these other ones around in the area don't really have that available. So you want to look for ones that have this available. You'll come across them with relative frequency. There's none right in your immediate area around you, but they're close enough. So typically what I do with Kholek's faction is I actually build both of these buildings immediately, but Kholek himself is a fairly strong lord, but we want to grab your additional campaign movement range, and then I usually like to work my way towards this just because this can kind of prevent you from having issues in the early game with replenishment. The thing with Kholek's faction in general, and a lot of the Warriors of Chaos factions actually suffer from this, is you don't earn a huge amount of income in the beginning, and so you tend to only be able to really have the one army, and so it's really tends to be pretty important that you move towards this. So I'm just going to take that for now. We've got one other upgrade here on this guy, and we're going to just take that. So now that we've secured this initial settlement, we can look at basically the tech tree and the Gifts of Chaos. So you have to take this one to start with. There are lots of options with Kholek's tree. You can kind of work towards additional damage for kind of your beast or monstrous units. And I tend to like to work towards just buffing the Dragon Ogre Shaggoths. That's what you want to shoot for with Kholek's faction eventually. And then you can kind of take a look at all of these different options here. So you just decide which one you want to go for. Because Kholek's army is full of melee units, I tend to like to work towards Khorne here. You can see this Hellblade option is there. But there are lots and lots of options to kind of shoot for. This is a really good one at the beginning of the game, reduces your construction costs for buildings. Yeah, you can kind of do what you want with Kholek's tree depending on how you want to play. Now, the interesting thing here for Kholek is you'll have different levels of authority for the different lords, so Tzeentch, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Khorne, and those provide different buffs. You can see, because I have negative Khorne authority, I'm actually losing replenishment rate for Khorne units. I have increased upkeep, and there's different bonuses associated with having authority for those. Now, you can also have undivided authority, which is basically your undivided units have bonuses attached to them. So playing these factions effectively is can be challenging, but you'll be able to get a good start, I think. Now, the one thing here that's interesting is that you actually get a commandment available right away, and you get a commandment available right away because this is actually one of your vassal states. These guys here are our vassal. So we don't tend to want to kill them. We want to work our way over in this direction, or over towards where Grimgore starts over there. So we'll make this commandment available. You've got quite a few options here in terms of commandments. I tend to go with this one to start with, even though it reduces the control. This is also not a bad one to start with, because you can basically start pumping out your corruption. This one is another good one, gives you increased melee defense for your armies. There are a lot of good benefits to swapping the commandments around, so at the beginning I'm going to take that one. And then for Kholek's actual recruitment, you can only recruit warbands to start with, but you also can get gifted units. So we'll take this Hell Cannon as well. You can do that instantly, so you can see those instantly recruited to my my army, so it impacts my income this turn. So just be aware that I could have saved that until next turn and made additional income there, because I'm not really in any danger. Now in terms of these gifts, Kholek has 2 available in the undivided section. These ones up here are for Khorne, for Nurgle, and you've got Slaanesh and Tzeentch. We go to here. You can start to add these to your piece here right away. Now I actually typically will take this one to start with, just to get access to this. Even though we do have a Hell Cannon, if we have to besiege settlements right at the beginning. Now we could take another one right away, but we will have relatively low amounts, and we have to wait till the next turn at least to select another one. So we've kind of got one going there, and for now I'll advance the turn, and we'll just talk about general factions that are kind of in the area. So there are quite a few ogre factions in your immediate area, so you probably will spend a decent amount of time fighting with them at the beginning. They have lots of melee units. Your melee units are actually, generally speaking, better than theirs to start with, so you shouldn't have too much trouble. There's orcs just a little bit way to the west, but Kholek's group in general is going to want to work towards their campaign objectives, and so we'll go through those here in just a second, because of the fact that you start with a vassal state and you've now created an additional vassal state, which is kind of your own building. Let's take a look at the victory conditions. So for the most part, you want to work towards killing these 2 sections. Now the direction that these guys are in is over to the east and basically to the south of you. So I tend to work my way this direction with Kholek most of the time, because getting into here can be really annoying to move around in. So tend to usually maybe take a little bit of a buffer right here, and just work my way this direction. Now if we look at this one, this Fortress of Eyes is actually over this direction too, so that also lines up with what we want to achieve. And then basically his long campaign victory is just to conquer basically a lot of regions. Some of these regions are, literally on the other side of the world, so like, that's not going to be particularly easy to take. Same with this one, not going to be particularly easy to go take that settlement way down there when Kholek starts all the way up here. So you'll kind of fill this in as you conquer areas, and then it'll reveal kind of tips of where to direct things towards. Now if we take a look at factions that are close to us, now the weakest faction that we know is actually our own vassal. So that's, good to know, but it doesn't really provide anything. Because we have vassal states, we can actually build outposts there, so we can actually recruit units from that faction, and they actually will give us missions to do like war coordination stuff as well. If we look at the factions that are the weakest around us, this faction is the weakest around us. So in this game, we're going to kind of move our way this direction, and we're going to want to take this out as soon as we can. We're not really in any danger here, so actually, taking a look at, okay, well that army's not really going to do anything to us. we can bring ourselves even further this way. And really, that's been a brief overview of how to get started with Kholek. So that's kind of about all I've got with this one. If you like the content, feel free to leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to the channel for more in the future. Thanks for watching.